What's up guys, and welcome back to my Pokemon Sun and Moon video, and today I'm going to be discussing the possibility that Sun and Moon might build in moon phases to the game as a new game mechanic sort of thing. Now, why would this happen? Well, of course the games are called Sun and Moon, so it would make sense that there would be new mechanics related to these two objects. The Moon, obviously the moon phases, the Sun, possibly where it is in the sky. That's for another video though, because there's not too much to talk about that. But, moon phases. Why would this happen? What would it actually mean? Well, remember back in Generation 2, the very first Generation 2, Gold and Silver, we had actually the time of the day built in. Day and night was introduced. So we had the day and the night, we had the sun up in the day and then we had the moon at night, sort of thing. And that was the first games to do it, and of course everyone knows Sun and Moon are the spiritual sort of spiritual ancestors of Gold and Silver, because Sun, Moon, Gold, Silver, they look, colours the same, etc. I've talked about this in the video, Gold and Silver Fairy, go and watch it. Anyway, we know that are these sort of the spiritual ancestors, I guess I'm going to call them, or spiritual children, if that makes any sense. So it would make sense that they would build on those features. So instead of just having the day and the night, we have the day with dawn, midday and dusk, and then night with the different moon phases. Now, of course we have sort of different areas of time. For example, Generation 4, different Pokemon appeared in the dawn and in midday and dusk. That was that built in, but there was nothing apart from that. It was just based on wild Pokemon encounter rates, so they could first be looking to bring that back, so maybe only certain Pokemon can be found in the wild at certain phases of the moon, or more, some are more common, some are rarer, sort of thing. And obviously this would then be repeated over a month sort of cycle. So it would be sort of like the seasons from Generation 5, where we had spring, summer, autumn, winter. Some Pokemon are only, it was caught in the winter, for example. Some were only able to caught in summer, some were rarer, etc. It worked decently well, except there are 4 seasons and it was 1 season per month, so it's obviously not as long as a year, so you didn't have to wait a whole year for the next spring. You only have to wait 3 months, but 3 months is still a long time when you're playing a game like Pokemon. If you just, it's just turned summer basically in your Pokemon Black and White game, and you realise, damn it, I really need that Pokemon that only appears in spring. I'm going to have to wait 3 months until I'm able to catch it. Oh, don't have anything else to do in the game in the meantime. Okay, I'm just going to set my DS down, and maybe I'll remember in 3 months, or maybe I won't. So, at least that's 3 months you're not playing the game, and 3 months you possibly might lose interest in the game. So that's why it didn't work quite as well for Generation 5 with seasons, but, moon phases is just 1 month. So, and there's only, I guess there's a few moon phases. There are a few different sort of, everyone knows the moon phases, new moon, full moon, etc. There are a few different ones. And obviously new moon and full moon are the biggest ones. So how would it work? How would they be just like new moon and full moon, and you have to be like 2 nights a month? Probably not. The way they'd likely do it is you would have sort of being the new moon being the start of the cycle and the full moon being the end. You have new moon, then you have first quarter half moon, then you have full moon, then you have last quarter half moon, and then you have the new moon again. So it's sort of like a 4-stage process. So it's sort of like you might have, 4 stage, a month. Everyone knows how moons work anyway. So possibly for the first week of the month, you have the new moon to the first quarter half moon stage, so they might call it the new moon stage. Then you have first quarter stage, and you have full moon, then you have last quarter, stuff like that. So it goes over in every week. So, say you're Pokemon you caught, oh, cool. I haven't caught that Pokemon, so I only have to wait 3 weeks. That's a lot less time than 3 months. So it works a bit better, I suppose, in that sense. How can it actually affect the game? Well, of course, I mentioned already Pokemon encounter rates, similar to the time of the day, which could also be built in. Return, because obviously it hasn't been present for a few games, I don't think. Pokemon being able to be only caught at certain times of the day, will be rarer or less rare at certain times of the day. I would put a decent bet on that coming back, since obviously Sun and Moon. But how could the moon phases be built in? Well, again, very similar Pokemon encounters, as I said, but they can also be related to evolution, particularly Rockruff. Now, we are very confident that Rockruff's evolution is going to be a werewolf. We have not had any confirmation on this. Several leaks have suggested it, but of course they're leaks, we can't believe them. But I'm confident it's going to be a werewolf anyway, because looking at it, it's a dog. What's sort of the more grown-up version of a dog? A wolf, basically. And we've been told that it can leave its trainer to come back, and so it's related in some way. So maybe Rockruff can only evolve during a full moon. Maybe it has to be a full moon and level up during the full moon week to evolve into its evolution, possibly there. Or maybe, as it has been suggested in several leaks, Rockruff has a split evolution line. So if you evolve it during a new moon phase, you don't get a werewolf, or you do get a werewolf, but it's not a proper werewolf. Maybe it's like rock fairy, who knows. Whereas if you vote during the full moon, you get rock dark or whatever it could be. So it's a possibility of having evolutions based on the moon phase. Now we know that Rockruff and the starters share a secret. I'm not saying that the starters are going to evolve dependent on the moon phase, because then that'd be giving a lot of credit over to the moon, because obviously moon and stuff like that. So I don't know how that's going to work particularly, but that's just an idea throwing out there. One other thing to talk about is the fact that the moon phase also has an effect on tides. Now obviously this isn't it's not a huge effect, not a very big effect at all. You wouldn't notice it unless you sort of studied it properly. But of course, if the moon is closer to you, the tide is going to, depending on the area of the Earth that the moon is closest to, it pulls tides. So the higher tide is slightly lower if the moon is on the other side, or it's slightly higher, if the moon is on that side. So they could build that in as well. Now we saw with Generation 5, I'll mention it again with the seasons, there were areas that you could access or couldn't access depending on the season. So again, if it was snowy, you might have snowbanks you could run up, or if it was raining, you could have extra pieces of water to surf over, something like that. I don't know, I can't remember exactly, but it could do a similar thing with moon phases and say, yes, when there's a full moon, it means the moon is closest to you or something along those lines, which means the tides are high. The tide is high. I'm not going to sing. But when the moon is new moon, if the moon is further away from you, or whichever one it is, which means that the tides are lower, which means it could expose, in some areas or some beaches, for example, or even thinking about those geysers on the sort of the lonely island, the uninhabited island, could reveal more areas with hidden items, more caves with Pokemon there possibly, and stuff like that if the tide goes out, allowing you to go down into those caves. It's just another idea there. But let me know down below, guys, what you think about this. Do you think moon phases could possibly be implemented into Pokemon Sun and Moon along with sort of the time of the day, to sort of add a bit more depth, similar to seasons in Black and White, but achieving it a bit better, because obviously you only have to wait a month for the cycle to reset rather than 4 months. Let me know what you think of this down below, and let me know how else you think it could affect the game. We have evolutions, Pokemon encounters, and possible areas being unlocked via the tide. If you have any other ideas, guys, let me know down below. But for now, this is going to be it for today. I'll be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.